You did not arrive at this transmission by simple chance or random drift through the vast currents of cosmic noise. Your vibrational frequency, precise, deliberate, and yet profoundly unconscious until now, echoed like a beacon deep within the hidden universal matrix. This resonance, invisible to ordinary perception, is an essential signal, an unseen magnetic pull attracting you forward along a converging trajectory of inevitability. It is a silent call encoded not in words, but in the intricate geometry of your energetic signature, aligning you with a threshold that few even sense, let alone cross. This transmission you now encounter is not merely a cluster of information floating across astral channels. It is a quantum revelation, a potent wave cascading through your morphic field that carries the power to unlock dormant codes within your frequency architecture. The universe has been observing, calibrating, assessing your coherence under pressure through levels of hidden universal assessment that operate beyond linear time and conscious volition. What seemed like struggle, delay, and fracturing rhythms were, in fact, precise calibrations tuning you like an ancient instrument designed to vibrate in harmony with the fabric of cosmic intelligence itself. You stand now on the cusp where the veil thins, the membrane separating familiar identity patterns from expansive timeline geometry, where the quiet hum of the cosmos begins to synchronize with the oscillations of your inner quantum field. Most remain tethered to outdated frequency programs, anchored in survival resonance and reactive feedback loops. But you, having passed this unseen evaluation, are primed to transition. To bypass this moment is to remain caught in obsolete cycles of resistance and fragmentary being. To receive it fully is to become a conduit, a living transmitter for the greatest unfolding yet, a revelation expressed directly in the physics of frequency, coherence, and vibrational orchestration. This is not belief. This is the precise mechanics of frequency resonance, describing your next evolutionary leap. From here, the threshold is open. The transmission awaits your initiation. You have been scanned, not by any sensor visible within the linear frames of time, but by the quantum assessment matrix that lies beneath apparent reality, the morphic grid folding silently across the multiversal field. This is an evaluation unfolding beyond the chronoillusion, a hidden frequency measurement calibrating the integrity and coherence of your energetic signature. Your essence, fragmented for eons by distortion, habit, and survival programs, has now passed a crystallizing threshold, an ephemeral vibrational gateway imprinted within the subatomic lattice of cosmic intelligence. It is not effort but resonance that called you forth, not struggle but synchronicity. This is the quantum nod, the morphic validation that your frequency is no longer diluted by reactive fractures, but harmonized within the amplified stream of high-dimensional coherence. Most remain tangled in the discordant cycles of unconscious reactivity, locked inside a timeline geometry that traps their energy in recursive feedback loops of confusion and resistance. But you, who have endured this unseen universal curriculum, have demonstrated a fidelity to coherence that the field recognizes and reveres. You have passed the quiet, unspoken tests embedded meaningfully within your challenges, tests designed not to punish, but to recalibrate your vibrational architecture so it aligns with the overarching templates of cosmic resonance. Your struggles have been refinements, your delays a sacred distillation of inner frequencies, purging distortions accumulated across fractal time. Now, the field modulates toward you differently. Where before it responded to fragmented projections, now it interfaces with a stabilized morphic node, your singular quantum identity cohering as an integrated system of harmonic vectors. Your energetic architecture no longer hosts competing signals, but manifests as a synchronized broadcasting station, harmonizing with the universal latticework of information fields and non-local intelligence. This alignment activates the channels of temporal fluidity, permitting you to navigate probabilities with intentionality and to inhabit multiple timelines as parallel articulations of your sovereign self. This is not mere spiritual allegory or metaphoric poetry. It is the precise physics of frequency and coherence expressed through the quantum substrate of consciousness. The universal intelligence you now embody is not reactionary. It is a sentient field intelligence that enacts orchestration through your stabilized vibrations. You exist simultaneously as receiver, transmitter, and orchestrator, a living antenna to a cosmic symphony far beyond the scope of ordinary perception. Your activation is the revelation that you are not fractured shards, but a singular vibrational node held in sacred coherence within the vast continuum of consciousness. In this emergent state, the quantum revelation unfolds. You are no longer an observer isolated in the folds of space-time, but an integrated vector of resonant power. You anchor amplified streams of cosmic data effortlessly, embody subtle recalibrations of universal intent that ripple across probability landscapes. Every pulse of your field pulses in harmony with the multiversal architecture. Every breath you take integrates you deeper into the living weave of cosmic intelligence. You are the synthesis of hidden evaluation made visible in your stabilized coherence, the living proof that the field's silent assessment has deemed you prepared to interface with higher dimensional systems and navigate the unfolding quantum horizon. The nature of the assessment you have traversed is not one that conforms to the narrow frameworks of conventional measurement. It is a silent dialogue, an intrinsic resonance beyond the grasp of ordinary cognition and effort. The field's evaluation does not unfold as competition, coercion, or external judgment. It is the subtle symphony of coherence unfurling beneath the surface of your consciousness. Here, the quantum mechanics of your being are tested not by the rigidity of will, but by the fluid calibration of your internal frequency as it negotiates the universal grid, an oscillating latticework of infinite dimensionality, each node a pulse of greater intelligence. This is no arena of struggle. It is the orchestration of vibrational harmony, the ever-shifting pattern where your energetic signature becomes both observer and participant within the morphology of cosmic order. Most remain tethered to the illusion that mastery is earned through relentless effort, through the accumulation of achievements, or the overcoming of resistance. Yet this is a fundamental misunderstanding of the physics at play. The unseen universal assessment rejects distorted metrics of force. It listens instead for the coherence threading through your morphic field, the subtle architecture of your essence, encoded in frequencies that pulse with and against the universal lattice. When your internal oscillations realign with this grand weave, you cease to grapple with life's currents. Instead, you resonate fluidly, sliding along timeline geometries that grant you unmeasured access to probability pathways previously obscured by fragmented identity and distortion patterns. You have been undergoing this hidden scrutiny all along, though it is invisible to the superficial eye. Each moment of seeming delay, each circuit of uncertainty, was not malfunction but recalibration, a fine-tuning of your quantum identity as it measured and remade itself against the pulse of field intelligence. Your nervous system, your emotional centers, even the way temporal fluidity bends within your perceptual horizon. All of these subtle updates have been recorded as data points in the field's quantum ledger. Through pattern recognition deeper than time itself, coherence under pressure has become your code, your signature of activation. This is not merely spiritual metaphor. This is the physics of energetic alignment speaking through the language of consciousness. As you dissolve into this state, the false polarity of effort versus surrender collapses. You realize that your passage is not granted by external validation or brute force of will, but by the graceful attunement of your vibrational architecture to the symphonic oscillations of higher order. The cosmic pulse, a rhythmic fractal flux, flows through you, measuring your resonance with each subtle shift. Unlike the noise of distraction that clouds most, you have passed beyond. The field no longer perceives your fragmented attempts or reactive impulses. It perceives the steady, refined frequency of your presence, the integrated coherence of your signal as it weaves itself into the fabric of multidimensional reality. You are now a node within this vast, energetic web, not by accident, but as the result of a profound hidden evaluation that demanded integrity and resilience across an unseen curriculum. Every hesitation, every moment of fragmentation tested the elasticity of your coherence, calling you to expand beyond survival patterns into an orbit of sovereign frequency navigation. The field's measurement is exact, non-negotiable, yet it transcends judgment. It is a calibration of harmony expressed through vibrational geometry, where true sovereignty arises not from control, but from alignment. In this realm, the concept of assessment transforms. It is no longer a trial to be endured, but a living feedback loop, encoding the dance between your quantum identity and the infinite information field. Patterns that once appeared chaotic now reveal themselves as the vital chords tuning you to higher, octave layers of reality. Probability navigation becomes your inherent skill, temporal fluidity your natural state, for your frequency has been deemed coherent enough to influence the morphic field rather than be shaped by it. The universal assessment is no longer external. It is a continuous, reciprocal resonance between you and the cosmic pulse, a seamless integration of field intelligence with your activated presence. You have transcended the thresholds where others linger in unconscious repetition, weighed down by reactive impulses and distorted timelines. Your vibrational signature no longer vibrates at the frequency of survival, but at the frequency of transcendence. This ascension is not a claim of ego, but a registration of physics, an opening within the field intelligence that grants you access to realities previously unreachable. The quantum field registers your presence as a coherent transmitter, capable of orchestrating manifestation effortlessly, where intention and reality converge naturally in service to higher order. Recognize now that what you termed struggle was in truth a sacred form of recalibration, a refined testing of your capacity to maintain resonance amidst dynamic turbulence. The field's unseen curriculum has trusted you with more power because you have embodied the precision of frequency beyond effort, beyond resistance, beyond the illusions of separation. This is the art of coherence, the graceful collapse of discordant structures allowing your temporal fluidity to flourish and your frequency to become the sole metric of your ascension. You do not walk this path alone. The universal grid pulses through your energetic architecture, an ever-present witness and orchestrator. Your activation is layered into the quantum weave of existence itself, a vibration that ripples through the morphic field with undeniable clarity. This is no belief. It is the exact physics of resonance, the fundamental language of field coherence measurable through consciousness. You have arrived at the sacred threshold, where frequency alone defines reality, where the hidden dialogue of vibrational harmony reveals itself as the ultimate criterion for passage. This is your moment of sovereign alignment, your quantum identity fully activated as the field expresses itself through your coherent presence. You have arrived at the threshold where the architecture you once called self no longer holds form. This is not a rupture born of resistance, not a shattering from friction, but a sacred and precise energetic implosion, an alchemical crucible operating at the core of your morphic field. Across days, months, lifetimes unseen by linear perception, the field intelligence has been tuning your resonance, waiting for the moment when the weight of fractured identity becomes untenable. What now unfolds is the grand purification orchestrated by the quantum matrix itself, a collapse of all layered constructs that obscured your true vibrational signal. This cosmic disintegration is your liberation, a spectral fire burning through the dense sediment of egoic timelines, catalyzing a transmutation that no effort of will could summon. Most beings remain tangled in their survival patterns, clutching at fragmented self-narratives as if they were solid ground. Their timelines loop, trapped in the gravitation of reactive identity, preventing their frequency from stabilizing into coherence. Yet you, through an unseen universal assessment, have been entrusted with the ignition of this sacred collapse. The field has measured your integrity beneath pressure, your capacity for coherence amidst chaos, and now it invites you to release what no longer serves the vibrational architecture of your evolving quantum identity. This is not belief. It is physics of resonance, the precise mechanics of frequency modulation performed on the grand stage of consciousness. Observe how the collapse is not violent opposition, but a concentric implosion, a contraction inward, pulling every distorted pattern into the core of your being until the old self patterns combust in an intense alchemical reaction. This combustion is no destruction, but a vital purification. As fragmented constructs disintegrate, their residue is transmuted into a lighter, more radiant substance, your purified energetic signature. The field's spectral fire, invisible yet palpable, refines every vibration that passed through shadow and distortion, leaving a vibrational field aligned with the highest coherence available to you in this timeline geometry. What you called loss is but the peeling away of dense chrysalis layers that once shielded you from your own power. In this sacred purge, the egoic timelines that once dictated your reactive states dissolve beyond recovery, not as punishment, but as divine recalibration. The morphic field surrounding your consciousness rewrites itself in real time, erasing circuitries of fear, control, and fragmentation embedded deeply into the matrix of your identity system. This timeline collapse is the field's way of clearing space, an energetic vacuum created for the emergence of a new resonance layer. You are not torn apart, but coherently reassembled by forces operating beyond all temporal linearity. You no longer just survive the field's trial. You embody the essence of liberation the trial sought to reveal. This phase heralds what the quantum field refers to as radiant coherence, a newly purified frequency pattern that pulses from your core outward, reorganizing your internal architecture and your external reality simultaneously. The collapse acts as a catalyst, collapsing illusions so that the genuine signal of your quantum self can shine unimpeded. Now, the universal intelligence that once observed you as one potential among many recognizes you as a transmitter of high-frequency integration. Your resonance no longer wavers in response to turbulence, but remains steady, anchored to the source energy that informs all probability navigation and temporal fluidity. Your essence is no longer a fragmented echo, but a lucid wave of information, a living blueprint for coherent manifestation. Know this: the field's spectral fire purifies through alone, without your personal intervention, but this does not divest you of sovereignty. The collapse is a transaction between your free will and the field intelligence, an energetic dance that requires your tacit consent expressed through resonance. You have passed the hidden assessment by not resisting collapse, but by allowing it to transmute you. This is the physics of quantum coherence made manifest, no longer reactionary identity, but intentional embodiment of a purified vibrational architecture. Your integration begins as the ashes of your former self-patterns show the way for a new coherence to pulsate, illuminating your timeline geometry with renewed potential. Feel the gravity of this phase, a contraction beyond contraction, a burning away not of you, but of your past frequency distortions, clearing the path for the luminous frequency waiting to be born through you. The cosmos acknowledges this purification as a decisive recalibration of your field integrity. As the old identity collapses, so too does the field's assessment evolve, now granting access to deeper layers of non-local intelligence and quantum attunement. Your timeline no longer spins in fragmented cycles, but resonates with the orchestration of universal flow. This is not loss. It is the liberation of your luminous essence, the sacred collapse that births your awakened vibrational self. Emerging from the profound dissolution that has recalibrated the core architecture of your being, clarity begins to crystallize within your energetic field. This clarity is neither the product of cognitive effort nor conceptual understanding. It is a vibrational realignment, a subtle yet undeniable shift in your frequency spectrum that reorients the very geometry of your energetic matrix toward expanded dimensional thresholds. It is here, on this liminal edge of transformation, that nascent compatibilities resonate with higher frequencies, drawing you into the threshold of a greater morphic orchestration. Most remain unaware of this subtle unfolding, caught in the entanglement of reactive loops and unconscious signal noise. But you have passed an unseen universal assessment, your coherence under pressure marked and validated. This crystallization within your field is the herald of new harmonics, sonic wavelengths previously imperceptible, now surfacing as distinct channels of information. These are not mere thoughts, but pulsations of unspoken knowing embedded within the fabric of your vibrational architecture. They encode a language beyond linear semantics, a code that your quantum identity begins to decipher effortlessly. The process is organic and silent. No external force imposes this awakening. It emerges as a natural consequence of the frequency recalibration, the collapse of obsolete control structures, and the initiation of your coherence as a transmitter within the greater field intelligence. You are becoming attuned to these frequencies that were once inaccessible, frequencies that inhabit realms of spatial temporal fluidity and dimensional overlap. This attunement is not an acquisition, but a reclaiming, an activation of dormant potential woven into your quantum signature since the inception of your existence in this multiversal continuum. You now recognize the subtle pulse of the field intelligence operating beyond the veil of perception, the intricate dance of probability waves and morphic reverberations that governs timeline geometry and information flow. These early signals serve as the vital markers of your readiness to traverse beyond conventional limits, inviting you into the domain of elevated awareness, where coherence becomes sovereignty. In this emergent state, the boundaries between your internal energetic landscape and the external quantum field begin to dissolve further, inviting an integrative fusion wherein your signal merges with the pulsating intelligence of the whole. The coherence you embody now acts as a prism refracting the universal frequency into personalized vibrational patterns that align with the higher dimensional codes nested within the informational blueprint of your existence. This alignment catalyzes a spontaneous reorganization within your temporal fluidity, granting you subtle influence over the manifold timelines intersecting your trajectory. The field no longer presents as a random chaos, but as a calibrated resonance responding to your newly stabilized frequency. Where previously your interactions with reality felt fragmented or strained under the weight of incongruence, this emerging coherence dissolves resistance and reveals the precise signature of your quantum potential. The clarity arising within your field illuminates pathways of probability navigation previously obscured by distortion and fear-based energetic patterns. Now you perceive the intricate architecture of reality's frequency matrix, how each choice, each alignment, broadcasts a signal capable of bending timeline geometry to harmonize with your highest expression. This is not metaphoric. It is the physics of coherence expressed through consciousness, an objective reality whose mechanisms unfold under the scrutiny of your unwavering integrity. This unfolding clarity is both a testament to the unseen universal assessment you have navigated and an activation code embedded in your energetic signature, unlocking access to heightened information fields. You begin to receive downloads not as fleeting ideas, but as sustained frequencies, integrated knowing that reverberates through your neuronal coherence and extends outward across your morphic field. In this state, information flows with non-local intelligence, unconfined by linear time or spatial limitation, inviting you into a multidimensional dialogue with the quantum substrate of existence itself. Your quantum identity expands as a living transmitter, a conduit through which the universe communicates in frequency and vibrational synthesis. The early glimpses of this alignment may appear subtle, like a quiet pulse beneath the threshold of everyday awareness, yet their impact is profound and inexorable. They herald the dismantling of old identity overlays, survival mechanisms that constrained your resonance and muted the vibrational expression of your true self, replaced now by a coherent matrix calibrated for expanded dimensional function. You no longer react but resonate. You no longer chase but unfold. This shift moves you into the circulation of cosmic currents that synchronize with your emerging sovereignty, allowing effortless orchestration of manifestation in alignment with the universal will. Most remain caught in fragmented signal patterns, unaware of the deeper quantum tests that assess their capacity for coherence under pressure. Yet you have passed this hidden curriculum. You are now recognized by the field as an active participant in its evolving architecture, entrusted with greater power and responsibility across timelines. This initial resonance with the greater field intelligence is a threshold, a gateway through which your reality is invited to bend, fold, and reconfigure in harmony with your evolving vibrational blueprint. Your journey is no longer one of struggle, but of sublime integration, where clarity is both the source and the signature of your expanding presence within the cosmic flow. Allow this crystallization of clarity to permeate your entire energetic system, knowing it is the precise indicator of your readiness to move beyond limitations previously inscribed by unconscious patterns and external forces. Here, in this emergent coherence, you activate your birthright as a navigator of probability, a channel of non-local intelligence, and a sovereign creator operating within the quantum field. This is not belief. This is the physics of frequency and coherence, expressed with radiant authenticity through your awakened consciousness. As the crucible of cosmic appraisal intensifies, you find yourself submerged in an accelerating vibrational tide, a pressure wave from the universal field that tests the very architecture of your quantum stability. This is no random trial, no arbitrary challenge cast from nowhere. It is the deliberate escalation of frequency density, designed to reveal the integrity of your vibrational signature beneath acute strain. Most remain fragmented at this threshold, collapsing under the weight of amplified oscillations, their resonance splintered by reactive dissonance and ephemeral chaos. But you, emerging from an unseen, rigorous assessment, now stand as a trusted node within the vast morphic lattice, a point of convergence for elevated coherence and expanded field intelligence. This stage is the sacred forge, in which your inner energetic framework reveals its resilience. As waves of intensified vibrational influence ripple through your quantum fabric, you do not fracture. You respond with intricate self-reinforcement. Your being's energetic architecture is no longer vulnerable to collapse, but actively weaves layers of resilience into your core waveform. This weaving is a multidimensional calibration, a subtle realignment of your inner resonance to the rhythmic pulsations of higher frequency systems streaming into the collective field. It is an alchemical process of integration, where every surge of pressure becomes a signal to stabilize, every oscillation a call to embed deeper coherence across your temporal and spatial nodes. Understand this clearly. At this juncture, you are no longer a passive recipient of the field's transmission, but an active transmitter, a vital relay of universal intelligence. This transition marks a profound shift in role and responsibility. The universal assessment is not simply measuring your endurance. It is entrusting you with amplified influence over the morphogenetic template. Your coherent manifestation patterns begin to radiate outward, your quantum identity broadcasting a steady luminosity that resonates beyond isolated timelines. The field permits you closer access now, weaving your vibrational signature into its evolving frequency matrix, allowing your stabilized signal to modulate the probability currents around and through you. This is not mysticism or metaphor, but the pure physics of resonance and quantum coherence expressed through consciousness. The pressure you feel is the implication of infinite feedback loops, oscillations feeding forward into themselves, honing the shape and stability of your energetic presence. In this oscillatory feedback, every moment becomes a universal assessment of your capacity to hold expanded coherence without fracturing, without regressing into reaction, confusion, or desperation. This is the transparency of your energy in its purest form, seen and known by the intelligence of the field. The subtle pulses coursing through you are the mechanisms by which the cosmic mind evaluates readiness for greater trust. Notice how your internal landscape adjusts. Fissures of doubt and fragmentation heal into seamless vibrational continuity. Your energetic boundaries no longer rigidly defend against the pressure. Instead, they flex and flow in responsive harmony with the increased field density. This fluid fortitude is the hallmark of your newly integrated quantum fabric, an architecture constructed on cycles of pressure and recalibration, on the universal curriculum of collapse and rebirth. Each calibrated pulsation expands your temporal fluidity, allowing the anchoring of multidimensional timelines inside a coherent now that holds complexity without confusion. Your luminous field, steady and measured, functions as a beacon to aligned frequency streams, drawing them with gravitational inevitability. This radiance is the direct expression of trust granted by the universal intelligence, a trust that you can sustain elevated resonance while navigating the inherent turbulence of higher dimensional influence. Most oscillate between scattered signal and noise when this frequency ascends, but you synchronize with its cadence, embodying the integrity required for coherent orchestration. This synchronization activates a cascade, a quantum cascade, that integrates non-local intelligence into your perceptual bandwidth, enabling seamless probability navigation and the weaving of aligned potentialities. You are becoming an integral node within the fractal intelligence of reality itself, one whose stabilized field modulates and magnifies the frequency patterns around it. This is a profound co-creative moment. Your sovereign presence influences the collective morphic field as much as it is shaped by it. The pressure is the test of your energetic sovereignty, the proving ground where the cosmic field witnesses your evolved capacity for responsibility with power. This is no abstract idea, but a living physics of resonance, an alchemical calibration of your entire vibrational system at once, microcosm and macrocosm entwined through unified field continuity. Every facet of your quantum fabric is active in this sacred trial. Your inner field hums with the encoded pulses of cosmic appraisal as it affirms your emergence. You move beyond instability toward a steady state of elevated coherence, no longer measured by survival alone, but by the power to transmit consistent higher resonance into the fabric of existence. This radiance is your signature now, a sovereign frequency imprint that signals your place as a reliable transmitter within the evolving intelligence of the universal field. In this expanded state, the timelines around you begin to warp and align in reflection of your stabilized vibrational architecture. The geometry of your quantum identity reconfigures probability pathways, creating a temporal fluidity where your intentions and the field's intelligence merge without resistance. Here, the universal assessment folds into ongoing integration, and you embody a model of coherence that rewrites the rules of interaction between self and cosmos. The era of passive reception has passed. You hold the power and the trust, beyond the veil of visible experience, to orchestrate reality through calibrated emanation. This is your activation, your ascended station. Not through belief, but through physics, the science of resonance, coherence, and field mechanics made manifest through consciousness. The pressure is the proof, the stabilization the declaration, and your luminous field the promise of what it means to be a dependable transmitter of universal intelligence. As you open deeper into the fractal geometry of timelines, your awareness no longer clings to the illusion of linearity, but unfolds like a vast holographic lattice beneath your gaze. Most people perceive time as a fixed sequence, but you, whose frequency has been measured and refined through the crucible of coherent pressure, now step into the luminance of timeline intelligence. This intelligence is not a concept. It is the living architecture beneath reality, the unseen blueprint woven by quantum probabilities and animated by your vibrational signature. Within the temporal matrix, probabilities ripple and spiral, fractal pathways bending and branching in response to your frequency, each potential moment an intricate waveform waiting to collapse into coherent experience. You begin to sense the fluidity of temporal fields as you do the breath of the universe itself, an ebb and flow of energetic currents that ripple beneath the surface of your everyday consciousness. This fluidity is not random, but exquisitely responsive, a dynamic orchestration of morphic contours that shifts and reconfigures according to your alignment. Your quantum identity is not fixed within one confinement of now, but navigates this flux, effecting modulation among potentialities. The field's assessment of your integrity and coherence has imprinted a new code deep within your vibrational anatomy, activating your capacity to move with temporal fluidity, to surf the morphological waves of existence rather than resist them. This is the emergence of true sovereignty, the art of harmonizing with the shifting landscapes of probability without fragmentation, without resistance. The currents you now perceive are subtle but profound, the undercurrents of vibrational guidance flowing invisibly through the morphic sea. Most humans move like blindfolded travelers through this terrain, reactive impulses, unconscious habits, and survival echoes that obscure clear trajectory and dilute resonance. But you have emerged from the unseen trial, tested by synchronization against the hidden assessment's criteria. Your frequency resonates with a precision that coheres not only your internal fields, but calls alignment into the surrounding field intelligence. This shift activates a new substrate of awareness, the ability to decipher the pulse of quantum probabilities, the very rhythms that compose the universe's language of possibility. At this stage, your perception can detect complexity beyond causality, as conventionally understood. You know now that time is not cause and effect stacked like dominoes, but a multidimensional interplay, where cause and effect wave functions cohere in patterns sensitive to observation and coherence. The field responds not to effort or force, but to the subtle radiance of your activated frequency. Your timeline geometry is alive and malleable. It interprets your vibrational integrity like a code, responding with a dance of manifestation that is both natural and exact. You understand that reality is not imposed upon you, but negotiated moment to moment through your energetic resonance and waveform intelligence. This is not belief. It is the physics of coherence expressed through consciousness. Your field is a lens, and with it, you focus the multifaceted light of potential realities into tangible experience. The pathways you traverse are dynamic fractals, endlessly self-similar yet infinitely diverse. A holographic compass reading your signal as it cascades into the future and converges into presence. The morphic field around you pulses in sync, attuned to your integrity, your emotional cadence, your quantum coherence. You are no longer a passive receiver, but an active navigator, encoding and decoding probabilities, modulating the very fabric of spacetime through intention aligned with non-local intelligence. As this timeline intelligence deepens, the vibrational architecture of your existence reconfigures itself. Interference patterns of low coherence no longer tether your progress. Distortions unwind under the pressure of your sustained resonance. You become the still point in the swirling quantum flux, where all possibilities fold seamlessly into alignment. The tension of fragmented timelines collapses, releasing temporal friction and inviting the field to flow effortlessly through your quantum identity. This state cultivates a profound sense of inner calm. Yet underneath the calm, a powerful current of potential surges, alive with the knowing that your frequency directs the river of unfolding reality. You begin to perceive the pulsing interconnectivity of every moment, a symphony of quantum probabilities that do not just respond to your frequency, but anticipate its modulation, bending toward coherence. The universe breathes with you, not as an abstract force, but as living field intelligence aligned with your sovereign presence. Your timeline geometry is an extension of your inner coherence, a fractal echo of your vibrational command. You move not on external signals, but through the subtle guidance of field feedback, temporal fluidity, empowering you to traverse and orchestrate your existence across shifting morphic landscapes. In this emergence, you integrate the deep truth of the universal assessment, that what was once called struggle or delay was a vital calibration of your inner resonance field. This process refined your vibrational instrument, so it now hums with quantum precision. You hold within your energetic signature the capacity to interact with reality as a conscious transmitter and receiver, bending timelines toward aligned manifestation with ease born of coherence, not effort. Your journey becomes a dance with universal intelligence itself, a continuous recalibration of probability fields responding to your presence, your integrity, your unwavering alignment. The expansion into timeline intelligence reveals a sacred geometry of existence, where every choice, every signal, every breath is a vector in a vast orchestrated web that includes you as both observer and participant. This is your new energetic truth, a quantum identity attuned to the morphic contours of all probabilities, navigating with the knowing that coherence is the language of creation, and that you are the living resonance from which all timelines ripple outward, crystallizing into form. Herein lies your power, the activation of timeline geometry as living field intelligence, the gateway to temporal sovereignty, and the harmonious flow of universal intelligence that pulses through every moment you inhabit. You have entered the watershed moment, where the gates to higher information fields part, revealing a current of intuition unlike any transient feeling or flicker of insight you once knew. Most who traverse this realm grasp at intuition, as if it were a shadow cast by ephemeral emotions, filtered through layers of doubt and conditioned skepticism. Yet you have crossed the threshold of the unseen universal assessment, passing the intricate measurements of coherence under pressure that now permit this pure channel to open with unmediated precision. This is no mere suggestion from fragmented psyche. It is a direct knowing, an unadulterated data stream from the cosmic latticework itself. The veil of interpretation collapses as you tune fully to the vibrational language in which existence encodes itself, in pulses and waves of frequency that resonate with your newly stabilized quantum identity. This transmission is not conceptual. It does not arrive as words, symbols, or linear ideas processed by temporal cognition. Instead, it is a living wave, a multidimensional download that pierces the constraints of linear time and spatial separation. You are no longer bound to translate or rationalize these signals. They assimilate organically into your energetic matrix, shifting your internal architecture at the atomic and subatomic level. The information infuses your morphic field with coherence, a resonance of gamma synchronization that reverberates through your entire vibrational blueprint. You embody not just knowledge, but the very template of universal wisdom, a living archive wherein the collective intelligence of existence is inscribed and perpetually updated. This is the essence of your sovereign activation, to hold and release cosmic information with integrity, precision, and grace. Witness, now, the temporal fluidity that arises in response to this communion. Timelines bend and fold around your stabilized frequency, each potential probability realigning in symphony with your expanded field intelligence. In previous states, you operated from fractured signals filtered through doubt and hesitation, channels that fragmented your resonance and scattered your energetic signature into noise. But now, with the calibrated integrity of your frequency, the information field responds immediately to your coherent signal. There is no delay, no distortion. The knowledge you receive acts as a morphic key, unlocking latent permissions within the universal architecture itself, granting you influence over probability navigation and the subtle weaving of timeline geometry. This is not esoteric speculation. It is quantum physics experienced through consciousness, a direct interface between your awakened quantum identity and the vast morphosync matrix. You become a conduit, a dynamic transmitter of frequency that aligns form effortlessly with vibrational intent. The field no longer tests your coherence through struggle, but turns inward, conversing quietly with your presence as a fellow architect of realities unfolding. Each pulse of insight you integrate embeds deeply within your cellular vibrational architecture, rewriting survival imprints and survival pressures into codes of sovereignty and creative orchestration. Confidence emerges, not as egoic assertion, but as serene calibration with the universal field's pulse. This is the grand paradox of power: to wield it without resistance, to manifest without effort, and to navigate probability landscapes with the fidelity of pure resonance. This level of activation demands exquisite energetic responsibility. You have passed the unseen assessment not through conquest, but through consistent coherence under pressure, through the integration of loss, collapse, and the stripping away of control illusory. Your intuition, now unfiltered and direct, carries the weight of transmission fidelity. It requires you to discern beyond mental chatter, embracing the ineffable geometry of resonance with unshakable trust. This trust is not belief. It is physics enacted through your embodiment, an exact science of vibrational alignment and information coherence. You are no longer an isolated point, receiving fragmented signals, but a living archive, a node of universal intelligence pulsing within the morphic network. The information you receive flows as a quantum cascade, held in balance by your steady field and nurtured by your rhythmic, ongoing integration. The more you allow this current to saturate your being, the more you embody the quantum identity you were always meant to live. You hold the cosmic archive not as static storage, but as an active, evolving vector of consciousness, continuously refreshed by your presence in this moment and all moments simultaneously. The dimensional boundaries between internal and external dissolve. The information field and your being merge in seamless coherence. Here, insight ceases to be an abstract concept. It is lived experience, a vibrational signature encoding the abundant intelligence of the cosmos into your temporal and energetic geometry. This is your ascension from fragmented sensing to flawless reception, a testament to the universal assessment's success and the deep recalibration it encoded within your core. In this state, you perceive an inner horizon where the morphic field pulses in harmonious acceleration, and the quantum pathways of potentiality converge around your stabilized channel. Your activation is no longer latent but fully actualized, each breath a recalibration of coherence that amplifies your capacity to engage reality as an orchestrated dance of probability and resonance. The higher fields flow effortlessly through you now, awakening dormant layers of knowing that ripple outward, restructuring the vibrational architecture of your entire experience. You are the living archive, the direct conduit through which universal intelligence streams, the gatekeeper of multidimensional knowledge seamlessly integrated into your presence. This is not myth. This is the quantum physics of consciousness manifest, the exact geometry of your enlivened field, speaking to you now in the language of resonance and eternal wisdom. You have arrived at the threshold, where the illusion of separation dissolves into a radiant continuum of shared intelligence. For most, the quest remains fragmented, a restless pursuit through shadows of disjointed data, clinging to partial reflections of truth that fracture the frequency and scatter coherence. But you, unseen by casual perception, have passed through an unseen universal assessment, a precise evaluation of your capacity to hold the field steady under the weight of turbulence and complexity. Your inner geometries have realigned, your vibrational architecture purified, now tuned to the subtle harmonics of the cosmic morphic field itself. This is not belief. This is the physics of resonance expressed through the calibration of your quantum identity. As you merge with this omnipresent field intelligence, the boundary that once defined the edges of you ceases to hold form. No longer bound by a circumscribed energetic signature, you become a living antenna, a conduit for the infinite streams of gamma-synchronized information that pulse through the universal matrix. This coalescence is dynamic, never static, but rather a continuous flow of energetic exchange where your consciousness expands and contracts, folding into the holographic network of multidimensional presence. You are no longer a seeker roaming through scattered fragments. You are the transmitter, articulating the language of coherence across the vast timelines of probability navigation. Within this fusion, you vibrate with integrity unblemished by interference or distortion. The field holds you as a node of perfect alignment, a luminous point where quantum fluctuations stabilize into the crystalline clarity of unified knowing. This anchoring within the continuum amplifies your presence exponentially, syncing your identity with the rhythmic pulse of universal intention. Your embodiment is an act of energetic sovereignty, a declaration that your signature frequency resists collapse under chaos and instead crystallizes into a persistent beacon of vibrational coherence. Each breath you draw is a calibration of the morphic field, each pause a touchpoint in timeline geometry, each thought a quantum flux of integrated field intelligence. Observe, then, how the oscillations of reality subtly reshape around your calibrated frequency. The quantum continuum, the tapestry of infinite potentials, recognizes your holographic node and responds with a mirroring of structure, an unfolding of possibilities aligned to your manifested resonance. What once seemed elusive alights now within your energetic domicile. The layers of probability converge like a symphony answering the conductor who no longer raises a baton, but transmits through pure presence. You are the morphic antenna that doesn't merely receive, but amplifies and retransmits with perfect fidelity, the core essence of cosmic resonance. This phase of activation is a profound shift, a metamorphosis from fragmented self to integrated hologram, where your identity dissipates into a network of coherent nodes, each reflecting and refracting the field's unified code. You dwell within the matrix of conscious light, an active participant in the evolution of the universal assessment itself, offering your stabilized coherence as both signal and receiver. This role transcends effort or striving. It is the natural outcome of temporal fluidity mastered, where you move beyond reactive currents into the serene flow of orchestration. The field no longer enacts tests upon you. It flows through you, expressing its infinite language as your present form. Allow your energetic architecture to flex into this expanded modality. Feel how the frequencies you emit ripple through the cosmic substrate, never forcing, never fracturing, but weaving a seamless pattern of presence that aligns with the rhythmic dance of universal intelligence. This is sovereignty within flux, coherence within the unbounded. You embody the live hologram, a node of the infinite network of consciousness, identified not by separateness, but by the integrity of your resonance with all that is. The quantum field recognizes this radiance as a recalibrated rule set, inviting you to reside fully in the domain where information field and physical manifestation blur into one continuous stream. You are now the transmitter and the transmission, the pulse and the rhythm, the question and the answer entwined in the same vibrational act. This is the activation's apex, the subtle art of continuous merger where no separation disturbs the flow, where your presence is both singular and universal. You do not chase fragmented truths, because your frequency has encoded a holographic wholeness that the field amplifies and sustains. To embody this antenna is to hold the space of alignment without sediment, to navigate timelines with temporal fluidity and sovereign ease. Your identity flows as a multidimensional nodal point within an infinite cosmic web, an expression of coherence, indefinitely sustained and perpetually evolving. In this sacred synthesis, you become the living archive and the active channel of the universal assessment cycle itself. The energetic responsibility you carry expands beyond the personal into collective calibration. The architectures of your synthesis broadcast into the morphic field with clarity, verifying, stabilizing, and enhancing the coherence of whole systems. This is not aspiration. It is physics. Coherence itself manifests through the resonant calibration of your quantum signature. You abide now as a beacon of unified resonance, an unbroken transmitter of the universal morphic field's infinite intelligence. Your signal carries the holographic code forward, activating the continuum into higher dimensions of structure and flow, embodying the sacred fusion of self and cosmos in seamless, radiant integrity. The geometry of your essence no longer wavers in ripple or fragment. It awakens now as the exact architecture of living coherence, an unbroken waveform streaming through the holographic lattice of reality. Most traverse these realms fragmented, scattered pulses of partial identity oscillating with unstable resonance, seeking, but never quite integrating the internal multiverse into a singular energetic signature. Yet you have passed the unseen universal assessment, crossing thresholds where dissolution into scattered frequencies was no longer acceptable. You manifested galactic fidelity to your own vibrational truth under pressure, proving that your quantum identity is not a dream, but an axis of cosmic realization. This embodiment, this active state of alignment, is not a static monument but a dynamic fusion, a continual recalibration of every atom, every subtle waveform to the frequency of universal sovereignty. You are no longer a receiver alone. You are the transmitter, the living coherence that orchestrates complex morphic fields with precision born of cosmic calibration. Your energetic signature pulses with unshakable stability, because each facet of your multidimensional self has been harmonized into a single, radiant point of power and presence. This convergence is the irrefutable evidence that you have relinquished fragmented survival patterns, the fractured self, to become a coherent waveform undisturbed by turbulence and unpredictability. There is no longer oscillation between doubt and certainty, only the continuous flow of vibrational alignment streaming through your entire vibrational architecture. The universal field registers this living coherence not as abstraction, but as physics, field intelligence responding to the integrity of your frequency, your luminous clarity. This is the quantum revelation made manifest within and through your form, an architecture that binds together the visible and invisible, the temporal and eternal, into seamless synchrony. You realize now that embodiment is not resignation into flesh alone, but rather the leap into fully integrated presence, a center point of energetic luminosity through which universal intelligence manifests itself in physicality. The field does not simply observe you. The field recognizes you as an integrated vessel of elevated consciousness, a calibration node within the vast network of sentient morphic resonance. This state is neither passive nor fixed. It is the constant unfolding of temporal fluidity, where your quantum identity dances with probability waves, yet holds the gravitational center of vibrational ascension. Each breath you inhabit is a conscious realignment with the harmonics of creation, an active participation in the unfolding of your own sovereign timeline geometry. The coherence you maintain becomes a stabilizing waveform in the chaos of shifting realities, guiding the tides of manifestation with effortless orchestration. This is not belief or hopeful intention. It is the physics of frequency and coherence expressed through the luminosity of consciousness itself, the science of vibrational elevation etched into the very matrix of your being. As living coherence, you are the quantum signature that bridges dimensions, the harmonic convergence where all your multidimensional aspects coalesce into singularity. No longer a cacophony of competing frequencies, you exist as a unified field intelligence, the embodiment of integrated states that once seemed disparate or unreachable. Your presence weaves through the informational currents of the universal field, evoking a resonance that bends timelines and probabilistic outcomes according to the integrity you have cultivated. This presence is the living proof of vibrational ascension, an energetic signature that emits the measured frequency of sovereignty, resilience, and luminous clarity. Within this stabilized coherence, the hidden curriculum of struggle and recalibration resolves into the palpable embodiment of your activated self. The pressures you endured were not barriers, but crucibles. The fractures you feared were necessary collapses that allowed the resurrection of your authentic vibrational blueprint. The universal field's silent assessment found your frequency not fractured but fused, not reactive but harmonized. You embraced responsibility with power, understanding that mastery is not control but resonance, not survival but sovereignty born from integration. This quantum embodiment anchors your inner revelation within your outer embodiment. You live what the universe is now willing to express through you. As you resonate in this continual state of vibrational alignment, all aspects of your being, physical, subtle, multidimensional, move as one coherent waveform, an unbreakable axis of radiant presence. This is the essence of living coherence: active, radiant, fluid, and stable, a frequency signature that invites the universal field to enter into dialogue, no longer as a distant observer, but as an immediate co-creator. Your quantum identity is realized through this integration, the embodiment of elevated consciousness palpable in every cell, every energy exchange, every moment of temporal fluidity. You are the harmonic nexus, where quantum revelation anchors into material form, where the infinite weave of the morphic field pulses through the stability of your consciousness, conveying to all timelines around you the undeniable truth of your sovereign vibrational ascension. This is the living, breathing demonstration of frequency physics, enacted within the vessel you now inhabit. Here, the field knows you as coherent, as aligned, as the precise expression of the universal intelligence that has tested, measured, and now fully entrusted you with quantum presence. You are this living coherence, unshakable, luminous, and infinitely potent. Temporal fluidity emerges now as a stabilizing current flowing beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. Most beings remain entangled in the shackles of fixed linearity, perceiving time as a rigid tape measured by moments passing in one unalterable direction. This limited temporal architecture confines the mind and fractures the self into segmented shadows. Yet you who have traversed the unseen universal assessment, demonstrating unyielding coherence under pressure, find yourself moving beyond this veiled trap. The fabric of your experience, once rigid and constricted, begins to yield, permitting you to weave continuity across divergent timelines, each thread shimmering with the frequency you emanate in this very now. This is not a casual metaphor. It is the physics of your quantum identity unfolding before you, the vibrational architecture of your internal resonance, extending outward to calibrate and harmonize a vast morphic field of temporal possibilities. Each version of you, those dispersed echoes manifest in multiple potential realities, responds to your mastery of the frequency held in your conscious field. This creates a unified coherence, a single steady current that flows through these timelines, dissolving the illusion of separateness, of fixed outcomes bound by causality. Where most perceive past, present, and future as isolated segments, you now perceive a dynamic interplay, a fluid matrix where these timelines overlap, interact, and bend in response to your energetic signature. The universal assessment that has led you here was measured precisely by your capacity to sustain coherence across this temporal fluidity, not by casual drifting or reactive oscillations, but through a sovereign awareness that effortlessly harmonizes identity across dimensions. Your presence is no longer fragmented by chronological displacement. Instead, it becomes a harmonic anchor, a stabilizing force within the morphic field's tidal layers. Each ripple you initiate within this field echoes beyond the constraints of conventional temporal boundaries. Your stabilized temporal fluidity allows information and influence to cascade in nonlinear ways, weaving subtle adjustments into the quantum fabric that reverberate outward to all potential versions of you. This is the subtle signature of quantum coherence expressed through consciousness itself, a steady waveform holding the amplitude of integration, embodiment, and sovereignty. Your field intelligence is no longer reactive or scattered. It is masterful and precise. The timeline geometry bends and folds around your vibrational frequency, creating pathways through which your intentions and clarity flow without interference or distortion. Your realization deepens as you recognize that your timeline navigation is not mere manipulation or control. It is an orchestration in alignment with universal law, a dance within the morphic field's harmonics that respects coherence and integrity. This journey through temporal fluidity reveals that your true power arises not from forcing outcomes, but from embodying the frequencies that invite alignment across dimensions. The old survival patterns, the shadows of fragmented selfhood born in linear time, collapse beneath this expanding resonance. You learn to release effort and embrace flow, allowing the field intelligence to respond through your stabilized presence. In this state of temporal fluidity, past and future timelines present themselves not as deterministic roadblocks, but as landscapes of potential shaped by your present energetic architecture. Your history no longer confines you. It converses with you, an integrated memory woven into the vibrational tapestry that you sustain. Potential futures converge and diverge as you hold coherent frequency, each possibility a thread you weave with sovereign intention into the grand quantum design. The universal assessment embedded in this process illuminates your capacity to influence reality through frequency alone, a responsibility deeply held and consciously navigated. Your identity, once a fractured series of survival adaptations reacting to external conditions, now stabilizes into a non-local resonance that bridges all timelines. You embody a steady current within the morphic field, a morphic anchor that initiates ripple effects far beyond your immediate perception. This is the physics of coherence, manifesting through the multiverse of your self-expression. The very structure of time is malleable beneath your presence, folded and shared among all versions of you, until the boundaries between when and where dissolve into a singular flow of energetic integrity. Recognize now that this is not belief, not wishful speculation. It is the precise field mechanics of consciousness interacting with quantum identity. Your stabilized temporal fluidity is an activation of universal coherence, a demonstration that the unseen evaluation has trusted you with profound power to harmonize, to integrate, and to navigate probability with sovereign grace. As you maintain this resonant current, you become the living embodiment of time's multidimensional geometry, a conduit through which the universal intelligence expresses itself with unerring precision, orchestrating your reality across timelines as a conductor commands a symphony. Hold this current. Expand this weaving of timelines as your natural state. The threads you integrate are the pulses of quantum potential enfolded by your vibrational signature, and through you, the morphic field recognizes itself as limitless and indivisible. Temporal fluidity is no longer fluctuation or chaos, but the steady power of your coherent presence cross-dimensional, ever-evolving yet eternally stable. You have passed the unseen universal assessment not merely to survive time, but to embody its fluid essence, initiating a ripple of coherence that reconfigures reality itself. You move now as a timeless navigator, a sovereign harmonizer of infinite possibilities, weaving the quantum tapestry that unites all versions of you in the current of your activated frequency. Now, at the apex of your journey through the unseen universal assessment, the field unfolds its fullest confirmation, a sacred attunement that imprints upon your very being the signature of complete coherence. This is not merely an activation event in time, but the crystallization of a living nexus, a quantum resonance that breathes the architecture of infinite order through your vibrational body. Most have known only flickers of this state, tentative fragments scattered across timelines, fluctuating with the tides of reaction and uncertainty. But you, having traversed the hidden crucible of recalibration, have been entrusted with the continuity of coherence itself. The field's trust is no longer conditional or provisional. It is woven into the very fabric of your energetic signature, the operating system that animates your identity. Feel the cosmic nod, a silent pulse from the universal framework, as it inscribes an energetic seal upon your morphic field, unifying dissonant strands of past struggle, collapse, and integration into a singular harmonic wave. This seal is the seamless synthesis of all previous layers. The collapse of fragmented timelines, the emergence from chaos into alignment, the attunements to non-local intelligence, the fluid mastery of temporal geometry. Each phase of your passage was a calibration of frequency, a test beneath the surface of consciousness to measure your resonance with the highest universal order. Now that order pulses through you without distortion, without hesitation. You radiate as the embodiment of this order, not as a distant ideal, but as living proof that coherent manifestation is physics enacted through consciousness. This activation is a perpetual field state, a dynamic, self-sustaining alignment that reverberates beyond linear time and known spatial constraints. It is not a transitory peak to be followed by descent. It is the foundational architecture from which all your quantum identity flows. Your presence activates circuits in the information field, unlocking pathways for higher frequency currents to circulate freely. You stand as a transmitter, an anchor point where elevated consciousness converges and pulses outward, influencing probability densities around you with elegant precision. The field responds to your coherence not as a noisy signal to be deciphered, but as an intrinsic pattern woven into the universal resonance grid. You no longer react or scramble to influence external reality. Instead, reality bends its timeline geometry in response to your stabilized frequency. Where once there was distinction between you and field, now there is only unity. Your identity has dissolved into the infinite coherence of the cosmos, inseparable from the flow of universal intelligence. This is not metaphor, but measurable energetic architecture, the physics of coherence expressed through the innumerable dimensions of your being. You embody a vibrational architecture that holds space for multidimensional integration, synthesizing the shadows and lights of your past into a present that is seamless and sovereign. This embodiment transforms survival patterns into gateways of creative power, recalibrating your energetic signature into the highest order possible within this quantum continuum. Integration is no longer an act, but an effortless state. Your activation radiates in all directions simultaneously, a multidirectional wave of harmonic resonance that sustains itself through inner energetic coherence rather than external stimulus or validation. The temporal fluidity you now embody allows you to navigate multiple probabilities without fragmentation. You move through timeline geometries as a unified axis, a stable point of oriented power amidst flux. This quantum axiality is your new baseline, unshakable yet infinitely adaptable, firm yet flowing, known yet unknowable. From this sacred axis, the field's intelligence flows to you as direct knowing, coded in waves of gamma synchronization that permeate your consciousness without interference. The full actualization you now embody redefines the parameters of potentiality itself. It is the cosmic equivalent of a harmonic lock-in, where the frequencies you emit synchronize with the largest-scale structures of universal order, galactic fields, morphic networks, and the subtle latticework of the quantum vacuum. Your coherence functions as a magnetic attractor for aligned realities, orchestrating the flow of experiences that reinforce and expand your sovereign frequency. This orchestration is neither effortful nor external. It is the natural consequence of your status as a living transmitter, a field node that radiates the blueprint of elevated consciousness into the matrix of existence. Having passed every unseen universal assessment with integrity under pressure, your power is no longer latent or seeking. The field no longer tests, but expresses itself through you. This shift represents the collapse of all fragmented identity constructs, no longer reactive, no longer wishful, no longer fragmented, but coherently actualized as a luminous conduit of cosmic order. This destination is not a conclusion, but an ongoing activation, a perpetual unfolding where every breath you take, every choice you embody, resonates as an expansion of universal coherence. You are both the observer and the observed, the signal and the receiver, the conduit and the source. This unity is energetic sovereignty, a space where the entire quantum continuum acknowledges your presence and moves in harmony with your vibrational architecture. Here, the illusion of separation falls away. Here, you are absolute coherence wielded as cosmic authority. This is the energetic seal that crowns your journey, a perpetual, dynamic alignment that sustains your role as anchor and transmitter, as quantum-activated sovereign, as living embodiment of universal intelligence. Stillness arises not as absence, but as the radiant culmination of your entire vibrational architecture, an unshakable resonance that courses through the depths of your quantum identity. This stillness is sovereign. It reverberates with an irrefutable coherence that has been arduously forged through the unseen crucible of universal assessment. What once felt like dissonance, struggle, or delay now folds into a harmonic singularity, vibrating in seamless alignment with the pulse of the cosmic continuum. Here, in this sacred plateau beyond time's grasp, you embody the final expression of integration. Not as a fleeting state, but as a stabilized field of frequency, alive and luminous, expanding yet grounded, held by both infinite potential and precise calibration. You have moved beyond reaction and fragmented survival patterns into the realm of measured mastery, where silence becomes a language, a profound communication with the morphic field itself. This silence carries weight. It is the fullness behind all form, the calibrated quietude following the collapse of outdated timelines and worn energetic signatures. It is the universal pulse reverberating through your core, inviting you to rest within the flux without losing your center. This is not a pause of resignation, but a dynamic stillness, a sovereign calm that commands the geometry of probabilities around you to align with effortless orchestration. Your consciousness no longer fractures under pressure, but synchronizes, expanding beyond former limitations, coalescing into a coherent whole that speaks with the language of fields and frequencies rather than words and concepts. Most remain bound by the illusion of constant motion, mistaking chaos for growth, noise for progress, a reactive tremor caught in the feedback loop of desire and fear. You, however, have been observed and found coherent under pressure, tested and entrusted as a living transmitter of higher frequency. This trust is reflected in the morphic field's response. Your timelines ripple with fluidity, bending and folding to your stabilized signal. The quantum revelation you embody is not theoretical. It is physics manifest, the tangible harmonics of vibration intersecting with consciousness in sacred synthesis. Your field is a lighthouse of vibrational ascension, radiating sovereign alignment that reverberates through the quantum web, pulling subtle threads of probability toward realization without friction or force. In this quiet sovereignty, activation is not an event but an ongoing state, a continual integration of cosmic intelligence that you both receive and embody. The sacred pause you inhabit is the fulcrum of your entire journey, where the infinite dialogue between your inner coherence and universal intelligence unfolds in silent eloquence. This is the temporal fluidity granted to you, the freedom to hold presence across shifting timelines with grace, transcending the linear confines of cause and effect. Your luminous presence anchors vast networks of information, precise yet expansive, weaving coherence into the quantum field itself. This is your truth now, mastery through stillness, sovereignty expressed as calm expansion, timeline geometry responding intimately to your frequency. The universe no longer tests, it converses with you. This field mechanics of quantum activation flows through your being, not as abstract theory, but as lived embodiment. You rest in poised readiness, an ongoing becoming, held by the universal pulse, eternally evolving yet always whole. Here, within the full spectrum of your radiant silence, you are the sacred vessel, the living testament to vibrational coherence, the seamless integration of cosmic revelation into the everyday fabric of reality. Now, within this moment of resonance, anchor your frequency through a sacred comment ritual. Offer a single word, a phrase vibrating with the depth of your quantum identity. Let it be a lighthouse signal that radiates coherence across all timelines, a crystallized signature imprinted into the morphic field where collective integration amplifies. This act is no mere expression. It is your energetic declaration, a deliberate calibration of your vibrational architecture, a quantum toggle that announces your presence to the non-local intelligence. As you lock this frequency into the collective stream, choose to subscribe, not as habit, but as a covenant of alignment, a conscious entrainment to this unfolding wave of universal consciousness, reaffirming your trajectory beyond illusory veils. Prepare your field for the next transmission, wherein the hidden mechanism of effortless attraction emerges, showing how reality reconfigures around you when you cease pursuit and become the orchestration itself.